Attention to all speakers. You have 5 minutes left before the quarantine session ends. We ask for the speakers to state their speaker position by typing in the chat before the quarantine ends. Thank you. All right, so the preparation time has ended. Speakers, please turn on your cameras so that we can begin. And before we start the debate, the speakers for Team UITM SI, can you state your speaker position in the chat?
Hello. Hi. I'll be the representative for UITM SI. I'll be the first speaker, the Prime Minister, and the second speaker will be Anis Amira. Third will be handled by Nadira, the third speaker. Okay, that's about it.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening to the honorable educators, lecturers, debaters, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start our debate today, please mute your microphones to ensure that there will be no disturbance to the floor of this debate. I would like all participants to turn on their cameras for this competition. I am Sarah Etna and I will be the chairperson for this debate session. Meanwhile, Nur Shahida will be the timekeeper for this debate. This House would like to call upon the motion that this House will support the Penang South Reclamation Project (PSR). And now I would like to clarify the rules and regulations of this debate competition. For the substantive speech, the timekeeper will ring the bell at the end of the first minute to show that point of information POI can now be delivered. The timekeeper will ring once at the beginning of 6 minutes to show that time for POI is over. The timekeeper will ring twice at the 7th minute, after which the speaker has 15 seconds to conclude their speech. And the timekeeper will ring continuously to show that the time is over and any further explanation will not be taken into account. And after both sides have presented their speeches, 3 minutes will be given to each team to prepare for their reply speeches. And the opposition side will present their reply speech first, followed by the government side. Reminder, no new arguments and POIs are to be presented in the reply speeches. And for the reply speeches, the timekeeper will ring once at the end of the 3rd minute to indicate that the speaker has 1 minute left to complete their speech. And the timekeeper will ring twice at the 4th minute, in which the speaker has 10 seconds to conclude. And finally, the timekeeper will ring continuously to indicate the time is over. And all debaters are expected to have a reliable and good internet connection during this debate. Shall there be any unavoidable circumstances where debaters lose connection during their speech, 5 minutes will be granted for debaters to regain the connection. And if debaters fail to gain connection within the 5 minutes, marks will be given according to how far they presented before the connection was lost. And the sound check will be done now as I announce the speakers of each team. And when your name is called, please test your microphones to ensure you are audible. And please inform the committee if there are any problem or technical issues. The team UITM SI from UITM Sri Iskandar will be acting as the government team today with Mr. Arif as the Prime Minister.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you, Mr. Arif. Ms. Anis Amira as the Deputy Prime Minister.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Amira. And Ms. Nadira as the Government Whip.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Then Team Lang will be acting as the opposition team for this debate with Mr. Azrael as the opposition leader.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Hayani as the deputy leader of opposition.
Yes.
And Ms. Shwet Ying as the opposition whip.
Yes. Hi.
Thank you. I shall now introduce our educators, Mrs. Fatin Alisha and Mr. Kaviraj Shikar. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I call upon the Prime Minister, Mr. Arif, to open the case for the government. The floor is yours.
Hello, testing. Assalamualaikum. Can you guys hear me well? Or is it muddy? Or is it
Yep,
okay?
loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone, especially the chairman, the fellow juries, and honorable timekeeper, and also members of the floor. Okay. For today's motion, the motion that has been put forward for today's session of debate is that this House would support the Penang South Reclamation Project. Okay, now I'll try to define this slightly for all of you, members of the floor. So basically, this House would support. So support means advocating, right? And that is very simple to understand. And also, the project, the Penang South Reclamation Project, basically, land reclamation, for you who don't know, is about landfill. It's the process of creating new land from oceans, from seas, riverbeds, or also lake beds, basically, creating new land, okay? So, however, before I go on, or before any of my members go on, the members of the floor and also the fellow juries and also the honorable timekeeper should understand that our stance on the issue, on the motion, sorry, is that us government team would also put forward our stance on this issue that we believe this house would support the Penang South Reclamation Project that supports the betterment of local livelihood and also the environment. So this is not a world where environmental factors are put into harm's way. Okay, so that is our stance and our parameter on the motion for today. So I hope all of you can understand that very, very clearly. Thus, I shall go on to the argument that I shall bring forth as the Prime Minister. First and foremost, the funds that it can generate, the funds that the PSR project can generate, can also be applied to the improvement of our own infrastructure, especially in Penang, particularly, let's say, the Penang Transport Master Plan, right, which leads to a better life for all of us. Now, why is this very, very crucial, members of the floor and juries? Because due to the pandemic that we have been facing recently, right, the economy, I don't need to say much, but it has really, really drastically went down the drain, especially for people who once have permanent jobs. Now they have to go on doing side jobs, multiple side jobs at one time to support their own families due to financial instability, right? So now, what's the significance with creating or advocating this Penang South Reclamation Project under the stance that it supports the betterment of local livelihood and environment? Is that it does not only support the local economy, but it also builds up a better Malaysia post-COVID, okay, without affecting the environment. Now that is, again, I relate back to our stance on the motion for tonight. Basically, as we can understand, due to the pandemic also, people not having due to the economy going down the drain and the economy being very, very unstable, it is quite wise to introduce this project, and it is quite wise to introduce this project at this particular time. Because advocating this project at this particular time, it can be a tourist destination or particular, it can really, really generate a better economy for Malaysia. Like I said, can be applied to the improvement of our infrastructure, particularly in Penang. And not only in Malaysia, but of course, particularly Penang. But as we can understand now, why is improving our infrastructure so crucial today? Because due to the pandemic also, is that we can understand most people and the majority of people are stuck where? Are stuck at their homes, okay? Our homes, our buildings, our homestay, basically, where we are staying at right now, that relates back to our infrastructure, right? So the fund that it generates, the fund that the PSR project can generate, can then be applied to the improvement of our own infrastructure, not for people who are financially stable, are in a well-off home, but for people who are not in a very, very well-off home or infrastructures. And this is very, very crucial, because we need to understand that, particularly in this pandemic, in this post-COVID era right now, people are more stuck in their homes. When in their homes, people have to work from their homes. Majority of people are working from their homes, right? People who are taking side jobs outside of their homes, doing Grab, doing say Uber, what have you, Foodpanda. Okay, that's something else. Particularly for people who are staying at their homes, this is very crucial. This is very big, because the fact of the matter is, not only does the improvement of our infrastructure, particularly our homes, very crucial for, let's say, for mental health, but also for our physical health, right? Basically, when we are working, let's say 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're stuck at our homes doing our work. We lose that sense of professionalism when we're doing that work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're doing this so-called professional work, but we're stuck at homes with an environment that is very unprofessional, especially for the people who are not as well off as the people like us, okay, for example. And that is why we believe very, very much that the funds that has been generated, that will be generated by the PSR project, can be applied to the improvement to our infrastructure, especially for the people who are not as well off as us, okay? Now, particularly, we can also understand that this would bring us to the betterment of our local livelihood. And also, at the same time, as our stance that we have put on, we do not advocate environmental factors that is put in harm's way. So that is our advocation, and that is our stance that hopefully the juries, members of the floor, and also opposition side understands. And so conclusively, I can say that yes, we do advocate the Penang South Reclamation Project that supports the betterment of local livelihood and environment, that it is in a world where environmental factors are not put in harm's way, so that it can, for one, the funds that it can generate can be applied to the improvement of our infrastructure, especially for the people who are not as well off post-COVID, in the post-COVID era. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister spoke for 6 minutes and 42 seconds. Next, let us invite the opposition leader, Mr. Azril, to state the opposition's objections with regards to today's motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, ma'am, ladies and gentlemen, I, as opposition leader, will accept the case set up. As the motion state that this house should support the Penang South Reclamation Project. So I will like to rebut the government side. You state that the reclamation of this project giving the benefit to us, but we need to know that not everyone will receive the benefit from the progress. That will be carried out for the progress of infrastructure. We should not just focus on infrastructure without considering the impact that can having a big impact of human or life near the place. So we believe that this house should not support the Penang South Reclamation Project. I, as opposition leader, will talk about the negative impact of disturbing of Penang South Reclamation Project, given the disturbing marine life. And my deputy of opposition leader will talk about this Penang South Reclamation Project will cause of a change quality of surrounding area of water. As we know, land reclamation is usually known as reclamation and also known as landfill. It's the process of creating new land from oceans, seas, riverbeds, or lake beds. That land reclaimed is now as reclamation ground or landfill. So I will move on to my points. The fishermen of Penang haven't been protesting against the Penang South Reclamation Project. A project of the Penang State government which will highlight the fisheries commons where the local people have fished for generation. No amount of rebanding PSR as Penang South Island or biodiversity will make this project green. This can lead to disruption of livelihood for fishermen who normally fish in the area. Due to this runway fish that breed in this area due to project being carried out without taking into account aspect like this, that they are likely to look at crumbs. That's all from me. I rest my case.
Thank you, Mr. Adil. The opposition leader spoke for 3 minutes and 1 second. To continue our debate today, I call upon the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Hayani, to counter the opposition's arguments.
Hello. Good evening to the respected educators, the chairperson, and the honorable timekeeper. So, before I start with my points of why we should support the Penang South Reclamation Project. I would like to say that the leader of opposition has agreed to accept our stance that we as the government team would support the Penang South Reclamation Project that supports the betterment of the local livelihood and the environment. However, he then started to talk about the destruction of marine life, which I do not understand because we have already clearly stated that we would support the Penang South Reclamation Project in regards of the betterment of the environment. So there should not be any problems regarding this marine life. So now let me continue with my point on why we should support the Penang South Reclamation Project. So with the Penang South Reclamation Project, we would be enlarging our state land bank. So by enlarging this state land bank, this will help to prevent the property price from drastic overheating. This is because when the supply of this household and also residential area, the price of the property would also drop, hence creating a more stable and a more efficient average cost of living. So next, my point would be, do you know that PSR, Penang South Reclamation Project, is examined by the United Nations of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The PSR project will be focusing on the categories of people, planet, and prosperity. These three main themes of sustainable development. First of all, people. The PSR project will focus on the reduce of inequality, which is the 10th point of the Sustainable Development Goal, and then sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, peace, justice, and strong institution, and also partnerships. So we all know the reason that as the opposition side said that this project would affect the marine life, whereby it actually helps with the marine life. In what way? So with the PSR impact zone, fishermen would be given a better work opportunity that can substitute from their fishing work. So they will be provided a better high-paying jobs for the community in the area, and thus closing the gap between them and also the average cost of living. A key necessity is to create a new economic opportunities on site so that young people will not have to migrate or move away to pursue their careers, or or just settle by being a fisherman, which often happens to local Penang people. So moreover, the PSR's project also impact on the fisheries should not be exaggerated, since less than 20% of these fishing vessels in Penang operated in the area earmarked for the PSR reclamation work. So these affected fishermen will also receive compensation through the Fishermen Task Force for the loss of income due to the project. Hence, this would reduce the inequalities and also create a more justice for these fisher folk to obtain a better living state. So next is regarding with the Sustainable Development Goals is in the planet area. Relevant goals will be in highlight of the climate action, life below the water, the marine life, and also life on land. So the PSR impact on the present environment is one major concern. It's however, with the PSR project, as I said above, the practice of overfishing has been destroying marine life. Fishermen would rather empty the ocean in order to accommodate to their life. This happened very recently in March 2020 when an increased concentration of marine chlorophyll caused in an increase of in the local fish population. So by having the PSR project reclamation, the PSR project being done, this overfishing activity can be controlled and without damaging the livelihood of these fishermen, and also would better benefit the marine ecology from suffering more overfishing issues. So with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amila. The Deputy Prime Minister spoke for 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Next, I would like to call upon the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Ms. Hayani.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Madam Speaker, Ma'am, today I, as the Deputy Opposition Leader, would like to rebut the government side. Based from the government side saying that the Penang South Reclamation Project will improve the infrastructure, but we need to think what will cost to the environment. Moving on to my point, land reclamation also changed the quality of surrounding areas of water. Material use causes the water to be more acidic, and certain organisms are unable to adapt to this environment. Sediments also do not allow sunlight to pass through, cause many aquatic plants to be unable to photosynthesize. Additionally, what is land reclamation method? Land reclamation is the process of creating new land from the sea. The simplest method of land reclamation involves simply filling the area with large amount of heavy rock or cement, then filling with clay and soil until the desired height is reached. My second point, the impact on the habitats. Reclamation of marine causes the destruction of wetlands and biodiversity, damage of marine. Number of species is chosen to reflect the effect of habitat function. The impact of fishery resources. In the coastal areas, fishery is the most important industry. Reclamation will inevitably have a significant impact on the fishery, so representative species of fish is selected to measure the impact on, which is also an important character of the production function. Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
Leader of Opposition spoke 2 minutes and 20 seconds time. Next, I would like to call upon
A good night, specifically. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, adjudicators. Thank you, Timekeeper. So tonight, we would like to have a fun debate, right? We will come to a conclusion that is best and go with. So on our side of government, we would like the motion to be supported. So today on site government, we believe that we would want to support the Penang South Reclamation Project simply for the betterment of the local livelihood and the environment. And we've mentioned this in our stance throughout the whole debate. Both of my Our goal today on site government is for the betterment of all livelihood and the environment, opening up spaces, opening up opportunities for the people to have actually be employed. Why? So number one, from my leader today, from my prime minister today, he actually talked about how it would actually open up better industries, livelihood of the locals even better. And my second speaker also talked about the industry making a people even, and also about the environment, how it actually work out for everyone. And so in today's case, the opposition side's argument for the fact that the environment will be affected is totally does not stand. For that fact, why? Because on the agenda of the Penang South Reclamation Project itself, it has been divided for the fact that there should be a space for all these activities, for all these things that they say the livelihood of the people depend on are still being maintained. Even though, yes, so they might say there could be changes, not affect negative effects, but there should be changes. And why we say this is because if not, these positive changes could happen. It would not have been approved by the United Nations itself for being able to deliver a betterment for the people, planet, and prosperity of livelihood itself. It would not have been approved towards that goal if, let's say, the side opposition's facts are true. Yes, side opposition would come up with arguments talking about the environment. This comes from the leader of opposition and the deputy. Both of them talked about environmental states. However, they've given one fact to us, not saying how exactly it would affect. They're saying it affects the environment, and we counter to that, and yet they fail to say that our arguments today were given, that we have delivered to everyone today, are wrong. They did not rebut properly, and our point still stands to this day. Now we talked about, since I don't have much to rebut on the arguments given from the opposition side, I'll have to say that our side on government, we actually talked about the livelihood of people. Why? To the industries, we were able to give people more employment. The employment rates would eventually gradually go down. And even so, the funding of people would actually be able to provide for our locals, would be able to provide for our society. Yes, that is on our side of government, we've proposed that it opens much more and many more sectors, many more a brighter future for many other sectors, including the industry, for people, foreigners to actually come and visit us. It will open up this huge opportunity for our economy itself to expand larger and even towards the betterment of our government itself. Now, also from my second speaker, she talked about how it is actually fulfilled by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. How? Sustainable cities and communities. The word sustainable itself says that it is not against the environment, in which it actually provides a better sustainable future for our land. And even so, Penang, now in support to the residential side of it, for people to actually have better livelihood there. In support to that, Penang is known to be a place where it is overpopulated, and that's a known fact. And also in support to my deputy prime minister's speech on how it is residentially important and helpful towards the people of Penang itself, the locals there. Now, opening up the Penang South Reclamation Project and allowing it to happen in support of that, we would actually be able to provide better livelihood for people, because they would actually have better homes to live in, better livelihood in terms of employment, better sectors, bigger sectors and industries for them to actually expand. Now, concerning the marine life, a portion of the land would have to be built over it. However, the rest of it, the production of Penang South Reclamation, this project itself will actually open and enlarge the possibility of this industry to develop much more further. So, and on that side, we on the government side has talked about this and instilled this fact very much well from our Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. And however, the side opposition today has failed to actually counter, to actually respond to our arguments on that. Before anything, any POIs from side opposition? No. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, now I'll continue on about how else I have to try to strengthen for the fact that on-site government today, we've delivered to you for the fact that it is beneficial towards the livelihood. And we want, and on-site government today, we also instill for the fact that we want to take care of the environment, no matter, even though there will be certain changes, but that does not mean that we are destroying it. Changes does not mean destroying. So therefore, on-site government today, we still and truly support the Penang South Reclamation Project simply for the betterment of local livelihood and environment. And for that, from our speeches, from the Prime Minister and to the Deputy Prime Minister, we have instilled these facts for in ways of saying the industry can give employment, resulting in better livelihood. The residential areas can provide better homes for people, also for better livelihood, and the production of it itself will not, and we will make sure of it will not affect the environment, except change it to a better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nadira, for the points given. The government whip spoke for 7 minutes time. Next, I would like to call upon the opposition whip, Ms. Xuet Ying, to present her case.
Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sir, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the third speaker from opposition team. I have few points that I find to oppose the government side. The first one is the first speaker from government side said that the reclamation project can improve in infrastructure and help in local economy. But in my point is for the fishermen, is they can gain the benefit from the economy? I think no, because the fisherman has I think no, because the fisherman has habit in doing fishing, so it is not possible for fishermen to change their job in a short time, especially for the pandemic time. And for the data I gain, I think Penang should understand the risk of reclamation and mega project very well. Started in 2006, the Seri Tanjung Penang land reclamation project create 240 acres of land of the Iceland North Coast to build some Penang most luxury property. Yeah, since that the infrastructure is improvement, but by 2018, local fishermen lamented that the once plentiful fish and crustacean has disappeared and they lost their job of fishermen in village. Then the government side said that the reclamation project will not affect on environment. My question is how government side can absolutely sure that environment will not be affected. My point is everything in nature is connected and complicated. When one environment is affected and destroyed, it will lead to a domino effect and start affecting other environment as well. For example, from sea to land. So for the bulldozer and digger digging and dumping sand for land reclamation will give harmful to organizer. So how many million of organizer will have died in the process? Then from teeny single organizer to snare, shape, crab, fish, and plant, and others. Their habit totally destroyed forever. No chance for survival, and there will happen such cerebral devastation. Then lastly, our marine and terrestrial environment have been so much less productive over the decade due to irresponsible land and or sea management, unprecedented natural disaster, threat from numerous destruction, pollution, overfishing, overmining, and much more. In fact, we are from the opposition team strongly disagree this motion. I raise my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shetty. The opposition whip spoke for 3 minutes and 31 seconds. Now, 3 minutes will be given to both teams to prepare for their reply speeches. The time starts now. Okay, speakers, your 3 minutes is up. Ladies and gentlemen, this debate will resume with the reply speeches. Let us now invite opposition team to sum up the case for today's debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am opposition leader from opposition teams. Now it's me to wrap up our debate and introduce some main clash that went on during this debate. So land reclamation with this many benefit has contained advantages. Land reclamation is associated with some dangers such as flooding and soil liquefaction. Reclaimed lands are expensive and can be damaged to corals and marine life. In a large project, we here ensure that this project will not disturb the environment that could affect the income of those who live in there. There are estimated by the government that this project will have a good impact on the people and the development of the place. Reclamation of marine can lead to many negative effects, such as the decreased space tide disappear, beach loss with energy dissipation space, increased influx of disaster risk and filled up riverbed. And in the meanwhile, flow outside the channel slow down, sweeter seawater purification decline frequency and intensity of alga bloom increase. Reclamation materials and pollutant generate during the reclamation. Activities and they can pollute the marine environment. In addition, the beach and barrier disappear. The impact of a wave on coastal area will be further increased, and the phenomenon of seawater intrusion will be increased in sequence. In addition, this project interferes with water pollution in process of carrying out this project. So to ensure that neighbor residents to receive clean water supply so as not to disturb the health of nearby residents in a time that adversely affect life in there. We are more focused on ensuring that safety and adverse effect that will be received by nearby residents. Reclamation usually leads to the decline of biology diversity, the decrease of nature wetland, and the extinction of habitats for animals and plants. For migratory species, the living environment of marine plants and marine animals has been seriously affected. That is my case.
Thank you, Mr. Azril, for summing up the opposition's team. Lastly, we welcome the government team to sum up their case for today's debate.
Hello, can you guys hear me well? Okay, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I would love to wrap up the debate for both government and opposition side as quickly and as clearly as I can. So as we can see, opposition side, okay, first and foremost, the arguments that they brought forth was they were talking about the destruction of marine life. They were talking about this causing the sea to be more acidic due to the PSR project. They were talking about the destruction of biodiversity. However, we would like to advocate and we like to say that, like we said in our stance and our parameters that we have set earlier on when we were stating the motion and stating the definitions, that we advocate the parameter, that we support the PSR project, that also supports the local livelihood and also the betterment of environment. Okay, other than that, the marine life will also be better with besides overfishing, marine ecology is also impacted by pollution from the fishing sector. Like my second speaker has said about the fishing sector, okay? And this has nothing to do with the PSR project. In the first place, the biggest source of marine plastic pollution is discarded from fishing equipment, which is more than 640,000 tons of fishing gear. It's dumped into the sea every year, okay? Now, numerous protected and marine animals have also been killed, including turtles. Like we have also mentioned that in another example, in relation to this so-called pre-PSR project, increasing the vulnerability of the marine life and being so-called destructed, right? On October 2nd, 2021, okay, this was just a few days ago, the New Straits Times posted that in Semporna, there was sacks of 11 butchered green turtle carcasses and its cooked meat were found off of Semporna at 6 a.m., okay? So even without the PSR project being done, the marine life are still being exploited by irresponsible people who are far off from even advocating the sustainable development goals, okay? But side opposition decided to ignore these clear and evident facts that not only me, but also my second speaker and also my third speaker has brought forth, okay? Like us side government have proposed is that the funds generated, first and foremost, can be contributed towards the improvement of other infrastructures, especially in this pandemic, post-COVID era, where the economy has went down the drain. And this is very crucial to understand. Also in addition to that, enlarging our state land bank will also help prevent property prices from drastic overheating, from increasing basically. Because when supply increases, right, when you are able to get that supply increase, then the demand can be decreased, and also even more in this post-COVID era, the price can be reduced. And that is a very big advantage to the Malaysian community, okay? Now, also, my second speaker has also stated about the PSR project. Evidently, even in its process, achieves the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, like the Sustainable Development Goal number 10, ensuring the reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, which is Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which is also another one, responsible consumption and production, which is Sustainable Development Goal number 12, and peace, justice, and strong institutions, which is Sustainable Development Goal 16th. And besides that, also, life below water and life on land, which is Sustainable Development Goal 14 and 15. Okay, but she also mentioned that my second speaker also mentioned that, however, opposition side fails to acknowledge that using previous reclamation projects in Penang, such as Straits Square and Kapal Singh Drive, as examples, development can encourage better environmental care. Generally, the natural environment occupied by a community with higher income is better cared for. Now, a study based on 171 countries over the period of 1960 to 2010 has shown that environmental degradation increases to a turning point where per capita income exceeds $30,000, right? So by developing the area holistically through better jobs and increased livability, the community will have the capacity to better care for life below water, which is SDG 14, and life on land, which is SDG 15. So thank you. That pretty much sums up us side government and also opposition. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Arif, for summing up the government's case. Ladies and gentlemen, with that marks the end of the debate today. Honorable adjudicators will be directed to another breakout room for 10 minutes to decide the winner of this debate.
Sarah, do I leave this room or do I wait for someone to?
You guys will be invited breakout room
Okay.
based on the instructions given.
Sorry. Hello? One of my teammates, Arif, accidentally got out of the room. Is he able to come back in or how? Be invited back in? He's at the lobby right now.
Yeah, I will let the technical team know. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
So, the educators are back, right? Okay. And now I would like to invite the honorable educators to announce the winners for today's debate.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia. And wait, before that, Sarah, I just want to know whether we just give the verdict or also the feedback. I mean, deliberations, judges' deliberations.
Yeah, give along with the feedbacks.
All right, sure. Cool. So I'll announce the verdict first, and then I'll give my feedback. If there is like any add-ons from my fellow educator, you might as well give them feedback, right? But if you guys have any further questions, you can just contact me through WhatsApp. I'll be in the participants group as well. I think by tonight I'll join it. And yeah, so our verdict is we unanimously agreed to give the winning points to the government, in which the motion of this house would support the PSR is accepted, which we give the proposition wins. I would like to repeat that again. The winning points given to government, in which the proposition wins. And yeah, so here's my general feedback, right? So basically, what I got from you guys, the debate that you guys were discussing about just now and whatnot. First thing first, the clashes that I got, that both of the educators got is first, rather than whether this PSR gives more benefit or more harms, right? Because I think someone, I have to give credit to one of the speakers just now, regarding the benefits or harm regarding these PSR projects. And second, which house cater most likely cater the biodiversity regarding the environmental problems, which was entailed in this project, right? So let's move on to the feedback. So the first clashes regarding the benefit and harms, generally I would say that both teams have a very good points, but even though you have a good points, you need a proper analyzation. Not only the proper analyzation, you also need engaged with the other team, which I believe that M comes and characterize. I won't say it's perfect, but it's quite above average to have like characterization on what exactly this project and what are the implications to it from this project. And the main point that PM was highlighting is regarding the livelihood of the locals itself, right? So this livelihood actually can be engaged and response by the opposition side, but I would give the credit and points to the government. Why? Because I think the whole argument about the livelihood of these locals is more likely to be incentivized on their side, in the government side. Why? Because the locals are more likely to be able to reach a better economics, a better I would say like exclusively regarding environment, but entirely on the livelihood of the locals and the people who would most likely to get job opportunities will be increased. So that's why I give the credits to the PM, also the other speakers who mentioned this specific livelihood points, right? And then moving on to the biodiversity, right? I think a lot of you have been mentioning about the SDG, sustainable goals, I think, but I don't get why exactly this SDG is very important. And I don't think you have a proper analysis towards this SDG, because I think two speakers has been repetitively talking about this SDG, but what are the implications when you have this SDG and a lot more regulations? How exactly people would be benefit from this particular SDG? Even though there is like environmental problem, how exactly this SDG could cater to that particular problem, right? Then that's why I would give the biodiversity problem towards the opposition side. They have a good points. But I wouldn't be able to give the wins to the opposition. Why? Because from the first speaker until the late speaker, I think it came out late. Me and Kaviraj think that it comes late. Why? Because you are catering first a very specific group, which is the fishermen. You are saying that the fishermen are not be able to fish again. They wouldn't be able to get job opportunity. What I was expecting was that I would preferably expect to the opposition to say that the job opportunity that was highlighted in the government side, right? It wouldn't be incentivizing all the local people. Why? Because most likely in this era of pandemic, the migrant workers would have this particular job opportunity. So in the end, it wouldn't be able to cater the livelihood of locals. But then there was no points, that specific points that I was mentioned in the opposition side. I think opposition would likely to win because it's not a clear win towards the government. It's quite close between government and opposition, but we gave to government because opposition couldn't be able to engage and respond to the specific livelihood, also a better points which cater a large populations, unlike the government, because even though government have the problems with biodiversity, right, because the marine problem and whatnot, but this house, which is government, they are catering a lot more people in their not only livelihood but also biodiversity, the marine and whatnot. Even though SDG is like quite on surface and one-liners, but still we could hear that a lot more people would benefit from this PSR rather than the harm that was brought by the opposition, right? So that's why, even though opposition have a good point regarding the fishermen wouldn't be able to get job opportunity, they wouldn't be able to get food and whatnot. And here's another tips that I would give as an educator. The way that you have to put to be able to catch the educators' like attention, right? You have to make it the harm to be in a very, very dangerous way. For example, you are saying that these fishermen or maybe like any other groups who are specifically related to this project, right? They will die because why? They are the vulnerable group. They are the people who are actually incentivized by going to this particular place with, which are used to to build this artificial island. They will most likely to gain their sources to actually eat at the end of the day. But within what happened in the government proposition, they wouldn't be get that particular benefit anymore. And that's how you would win the debate when the harm specifically thrown to that particular group, if you want to narrow down. But I would prefer you to actually give a in a larger scale for us to be able to compare between government and also opposition. So I hope that clears things up, and that's exactly our general feedback. Is there any question?
Perhaps I can remind everyone that if you all want personal educator feedback, you can contact me and Alicia after the debate, and we can tell you all why exactly we've credited you for certain points, why we've not done that. And yeah, maybe it might help you in the following rounds.
Sorry, we can contact you through WhatsApp, is it?
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
we can do that.
Thank you very much.
But anyways, at the end of the day, I just want to say good job to everyone because the debate was great. You have a good points, and if you feel like you want to give a shot in debate in the future, you should, because you guys, everyone have like potential to actually speak like a debater, a good debater. So yeah.
Thank you, Madam and sir.
Okay, so thank you very much to the honorable educators. With that ends the preliminary room 2 of today's debate. We congratulate the winning team and extend our gratitude towards the honorable educators as well as the committee.